course its writers, and also builds a sense of community within the city to encourage as many people as possible to read the same book. So it's supported by Creative Ireland, and previous authors include Frank O'Connor was our inaugural One City, One Book, Billy O'Callaghan, Éigse Éirean, Catherine Kerwin, Ty Coakley, Danielle McLaughlin, Conal Creedon, and last year Madeleine Darcy. And they've all proved hugely popular with readers in the city and beyond, especially, Éigse Éirean is a bit of a stranger in the middle of all our local writers, but it was wonderful to have her here. But it is the local writers who really appeal to the people of the city. And since 2017, the One City, One Book chosen title has been the most borrowed book from Cork City Libraries each year. So we're delighted with that. We're also delighted that this year it's our first time having a poetry collection. So that's something new. And we are, of course, just privileged that it's Theo's book, Once Was a Boy. And it really does suit all the, it is a prescription really for One City, One Book. It begins with, it's a total sense of place from the first page, where we hear the boom of the North Cathedral down to Shandon, to the last page, where he references Shandon Street, St. Mary's Road, Fair Hill, Churchfield, Gronabrower, Spangle Hill, and Blackpool. So really, it is about Cork. And I suppose in between the covers, it's a beautiful story, really, poetry story of a child's experiences and very happy home, I think, from what you can feel, and that leads to his being able to deal with a lot of different things in St. Vincent's and then in the North Mon. And of course, it takes us through places in the city, mentioning Murphy's Brewery, Drummy's, Ford's, Dunlop, Sutton's Cole, and the North Mon, and St. Vincent's. And of course, its language as well, with Patsy Pops and Rubber Dollies. So for those of you who don't know Theo was born in Cork and grew up on Redemption Road. He was educated in St. Vincent's Convent and the North Mon and UCC. He tutored and lectured there before becoming literature officer with Triskel Arts Centre, to whose foundation he contributed. With Mick Hannigan, he refounded the Cork International Film Festival and went on to become director of Poetry Ireland. And in 2000, he was elected to Aosdána and was appointed to the Arts Council from 2003 to 2008. Theo is primarily a poet with 10 collections to his credit, but also a translator, essayist, editor, documentary screenwriter, translator, and broadcaster. He is married to the poet and dramatist Paula Ealaíon, and we welcome Paula here tonight as well. Delighted to have you, Paula. And in a recent interview with the Irish Times, he described his beloved native Cork as having an all-pervasive presence in his heart, the matrix of my first mind. So I now hand you over to the Lord Mayor, Councillor Kirean McCarthy, to officially launch One City, One Book 2024.
Dear Theo, dear Patricia, dear guardians of the culture and arts in the city, which there are many in this particular room, and my dear friends. Thanks so much for the invitation to launch this project. I have just 3 very brief messages, if I may. And my first is that I do want to re-echo what Patricia has said on the importance of the One City, One Book annual project. I think for me, as a project, it certainly unites the city as a project in itself, with a focus on reading, the importance of reading Cork-connected literature, and the project has grown very steadily over many years now. As Patricia said, it's in the 9th year, and the idea of bringing as many people together in the city to read one book is certainly a very noble and a very powerful cause. I have to say in this city that we do togetherness very, very well. And we do unity and we do solidarity very, very well. And it's very, very important that we keep building that, especially in the world that we live in today. There are many, you turn on the news and there's a lot of negativity. But this is a city that has much energy and much kind of positivity, and we need to kind of focus on that. And I think that's what I really like about the One City, One Book project. Just unites the city in what I call a very soft project, but a really, really important project. We are very, very lucky at the support from Creative Ireland programme. Patricia mentioned the previous 9 authors. I do remember sitting here in 2020 with Ty Coakley, and it was just Patricia and Ty here. And we had masks on, and it was really, really horrific. And that's why I'm glad there's such a crowd here, even though my gut is that probably most of the Dorgan clan kind of make up some here. But the great thing about the Dorgan is that they're such an enthusiastic family, and I want to welcome them in particular. In truth, in the past 9 years, the One City, One Book project has taken readers on a voyage of discovery into a multitude of stories and brought them to even connect more what has been described by many scholars and ultimately readers on the life-giving power of literature. And books are important for the mind, the heart and the soul. And so my first message, dear friends, is how lucky we are in this city to have the One City, One Book project and the journey that it's brought all of us on so far. And that's my first message. My second message does concern the writer Theo Dorgan, who perhaps is probably one of the most humble people I've ever actually met. It's my first time encountering Theo here. But interesting, when you go onto Theo's website, it's a completely different story. And his website is extremely detailed. And he is a poet, a novelist, a prose writer, a documentary screenwriter, editor, translator, broadcaster. And the website goes on, born in Cork and educated in North Mon and BA and MA in English and involved in the Triskel Art Centre. And then you moved to Dublin, which we will hold you against. But there you became the director of Poetry Ireland. And there you were involved in policy, in reforming practices and policies, in particular in areas of gender and representation, which is something that is very, very, very important. And then you served on boards such as the Irish Writers' Centre, the Project Art Centre, the African Culture Project. You're involved in literary programmes in RTÉ Radio, you're involved in the Arts Council. You became a sailor, but for the most part, poetry has been the centre of your life. And I know there's been many, many translations, and you're a member of Aosdána, so for us, it's a real privilege to have a member of Aosdána in our midst. And that's all on your CV. But there's one thing listing off accolades. But my dear friends, this is a person who has worked extremely hard at his craft. He's also generously helped other writers and other institutions. He believes in the value of culture and the arts and is a leader in the culture and the arts. And Theo's work, I think, is someone that we as Corkonians keep coming back to. And I can say, Theo, as Lord Mayor of Cork, we're very, very proud of you. And that's probably the biggest accolade I can give you here. My second message, how lucky this city and this country is to have someone like Theo Dorgan to be in our corner when it comes to culture and arts. My third brief message, dear friends, concerns the nature of the work in Theo's book before us this evening. An episodic set of poetic or prose reflections on growing up on the north side of Cork and how it is important in helping getting under the skin of our historic city with all its warts and all its positives. That's kind of my reading of it. It's not a sugar-coated set of poetic reflections. There is a cast of different characters a host of different experiences and different encounters. There's nostalgic landmarks, nostalgic neighbourhoods, as well as many emotions kind of intertwined. On my first reading, Theo, and I have read it, one can see, you'd expect a local historian to read it, one can see the scattering of memories being reassembled from your mind. Some flow into each other, and I think others seem to hang there waiting for further analysis and assembly, on your assembly line in your mind, if I can say that. Indeed, there's much in this book for people who study memory and how we remember and how we reassemble bits and pieces of memory in our minds. And I'm of the firm view, dear friends, that memories have the power to stop someone, to impress on someone, to make one question, to make one wonder, to make one dream, to make one be curious, to make one be disturbed, to make one explore, to make one to not forget, and a whole series of other emotions as well. And that's kind of one aspect that really kind of jumped out from this particular book for me. And the second aspect that kind of jumped out for me is how place matters in Cork. And that Cork's urban landscape is filled with messages about place, positive and negative, that beyond the physical surfaces of a city such as Cork, there's a soulful an evocative character etched across the flat of the city, the estuary, the harbour area and the surrounding valley sides. And that our city is a place of tradition and continuity and change and legacy, of ambition and experience and learning, of ingenuity, innovation, and very much a place wrapped up in nostalgia and memory that kind of keeps evolving, keeps kind of twisting around itself as well, is my kind of experience of exploring Cork's history, and something that I kind of took away as well from Theo's book. In essence, my dear friends, place matters in Cork. And certainly one of the things I have discovered as Lord Mayor, and I suppose, yes, I have researched a lot of Cork history, but the thing about Lord Mayor is that you're brought deeper. Or you're brought into what I call the deeper magic, to reference to something by C.S. Lewis and The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, that there's something very, very special and that's beneath the surface even more, and that needs to be minded, cherished and nourished for the Cork of the future. That yes, nostalgia in the past is important, but we also need to be careful what we create for the future. So I want to thank you, Leo, for exploring your memory bank, but also probably unlocking other people's memory banks here as well, and exploring Cork in its sense of place. My gut is that, and I've no doubt there probably has been calls that there'll be a sequel to Once Was a Boy. Once was a teen. Once was an old fellow. Yeah, but perhaps my third message, dear friends, is how lucky we are to have such a book of memories and much more to read on Cork, take a journey with, get lost with, to reflect upon and to enjoy. So to conclude, my dear friends, there's a cauldron of simmering ideas in this project, a cauldron of simmering ideas to the author, a cauldron of simmering ideas to within the book itself. And my three messages, they do all connect with each other, but how lucky that we are to have the One City, One Book project, how lucky we are to have the ever-passionate Theo Dorgan, and how lucky we are to have this book of memories that kind of very much calls to us to read, take a journey with, get lost with, and to enjoy. And thank you so much for listening to me. And I formally launched the One City, One Book project for 2024 with the great Theo Dorgan.
He seems to have been very busy. I've heard of Mobile Weeches as an effect, the Cllr Thank you so much, Lord Mayor, for those very kind words. I would say at the outset, because you'll all be reading the Echo tomorrow, my old friend Cllr Kirean asked me in an interview, said, would you live in Cork again? And I said, no. I should have expanded on the answer. The answer is it will take at least 2 hours to cross Cork City. And at my age, those 2 hours, I can't afford to spend them. But this city has always been, my heart has been at my heart. And at the heart of the city has been my beloved family. My sisters and brothers who have given me so much over the years and still do. It means so much to me. And I'm so grateful to see so many of them here tonight. I truly love them. Patricia Looney is a force of nature. And I'm surprised she wasn't at the heart of Oppenheimer, because it's almost a nuclear forcing her to. What she has done for this library, is acting librarian at the moment, what she has done here over recent years is absolutely phenomenal. There is nothing like it in the country at the moment. Madeline knows very well just how much she has done for the city and will continue to do so. I'm very honoured, particularly for your role in this. It means a great deal to me, this award, and I think of it as an award, because this library made me, shaped me. Every Wednesday, the number 3 bus from Madden's building, and every Saturday. Paid up member of the Just William and the Biggles Club. We had a supply teacher whom Mick Hannigan will remember, George. We had George where he got his tickets for the adult library at the age of 13, 14, so we could study history. And you could get 3 books out at that time. And I would dutifully get a history book, something at random, and a Mills and Swoon for the man. This city has been fortunate that the library has never stopped being the heart of its democracy. It was Tom McCarthy who told me many years ago, and he'll tell me afterwards, but not now if I'm misquoting you, that the first book checked out of a lending library in Cork was when a mechanic from the South Mall checked out Thomas Paine's The Rights of Man. And that speaks to how much this library means to this city. When the Tans burnt it down, there was an avalanche of books donated for the rebuilding. Tom has written actually a very good piece about that. When I saw those ragbag morons picketing the library, I tell you, my instinct was to reach for the Hurley and use my bus pass, my free travel pass, to come down here to the defence of the place. There's one person here I want to mention. His name is Paddy O'Brien, who has done so much for the elderly in this city for countless decades, since I was a young fella. That's neither today nor yesterday. There's a little self-interest in that, because it dawned on me very recently that I am now to be numbered among the elderly, so I hope to benefit from his expertise. But Paddy reminded me there earlier that he remembers meeting me the first day I was brought down to school by my mum. He remembers that. I wish I could count on having such a memory. The book is dedicated to Mick Hannigan, my oldest friend. We've soldiered together through many a year, through many a battlefield in the North Mon, through many a battlefield in the wider country. But what I love about Mick is his boundless curiosity and willingness to put his shoulder to the wheel, whatever that wheel is, the wheel of memory, film. He did so much for film in this city. But he's my idea of what a good man should be. And it was a pleasure to dedicate this book to him. And I, at the risk of embarrassing him, I must say, Mick, you've always meant so much to me, man. I'm a lazy and haphazard person, I might as well say it, as we're in the business of truth-telling here. My dearly beloved Paula, best thing ever happened to me in my life. She is wholly responsible for stopping these poems from sprawling all over the page, falling over the edge. She's my first and best reader. She's absolutely merciless, which is a great blessing, let me tell you. But I don't think I've published a poem since I met her that hasn't benefited just from the fact that she's in the world. And I don't know that. Kinter with the Éigse Éirean. I'm sure I've forgotten to thank somebody, but look, you'll forgive me because I'm a bit baffled here, because the idea of being beloved in Cork is very deeply troubling to someone who went to live in Dublin 35 years ago. You could live in Dubai, you could live in Düsseldorf, you could live in Denver, Colorado, you could live in any other city whose name begins with a D and be forgiven. But those of you contemplating it, do not ever move to Dublin. You will not be forgiven. Anytime you have a book out, you get somebody in the examiner writes with one of those, I get my week's work done in 10 minutes here, and then send him 20 questions. Like, what's your favourite restaurant? Really like it. The last question for the examiner is always, and do you miss Cork? Stiletto is up the sleeve, right? And a couple of years ago, the honest answer dawned on me. I never left Cork. I just live elsewhere. So those of you contemplating that move, I commend it to you as a shield and as a spell of protection. How could you not love this city? You know, it's just circumstance takes you up, but it has everything. I always say it's like Athens in the time of Pericles, and just about the same size population. You know, passion, learning, camogie. You used to be able to say hurling. Camogie, I'll say it again, those warriors who give us reason for pride. And this place, I come back to here, this place where everything is possible, where the entire writing life of Tom McCarthy was nurtured and cherished, where Dean, I see Dean down the back, where so many of the rising poets of Cork have found a station good and safe for ships, for the ships of their imaginations. And long may it continue to do that. And while Patricia's here, you'll be damn sure it will. Now, in the interest of the spirit of democracy, you get to choose. Do I read 3 poems, 5 poems, or 7? I got 7 once, maybe 7 once. Bells break on the morning air. Bells break on the morning air. Boom of the North Cathedral, the rippling tones from Shandon. The tolling is low. That means a funeral. Nobody we know, I would have heard the talk. Rolling over the wrong notes, I pick out Danny Boy, her favourite song. Sometimes if I'm close, she folds me to her shoulder when it comes on the radio. Face powder, Pond's cold cream. I don't remark the tears when they come. She misses her mother and father. Inside the radio, as the valves heat up, the very particular smell of electricity. In some discarded comic or magazine, the New York skyline at night. I think of this when I watch the valves heat up, prompting feelings I can't understand. The smooth bakelite case has rounded corners. Once I tried counting the ribs on the tuning knob until my eyes blurred. Circling the mixing bowl with a finger, mock reprimanded, I closed my eyes and tried to distinguish flour from egg in the mixture. I filched a slice of apple, bite, the sourness puckering my cheeks. I dipped the slice in sugar, bite again. The others have gone up the garden. Almost I taste the ticking of the clock. Sun bubbles in the back door paint, white dust in the deep reveals, fingertips trailing the pebble ash as I walk around to the front. At the right speed, I make each separate finger hop and skip. Braille, I think, Morse code, words without content from a book. If you want a troubling and troublesome child, teach him to read as early as possible. Makes him a permanent rebel, but it also makes him very self-sufficient. This is one of the things I've learned from reading this book after writing it. This is called Nuns. We're chanting our numbers when the door opens. One of the women dressed all in black comes in. Her dress trails whispers on the bare floorboards. Her smile is kind. She looks around at us while she speaks to Mrs. Ryan. I like that she looks at me, looking up at her, and crinkles her eyes. Mrs. Ryan calls her Sister Angela. The bell at 12 o'clock is called the Angelus. We have to stand up when we pray. A big man with a round face and white hair comes. He helps us with our painting. We paint with our fingers, chickens, houses. We can take the paintings home. In the yard, Jimmy Daly says the man is his uncle. I have an uncle, Uncle John, but I don't know if he could come in here. The women in black are called nuns. They walk up and down the yard, staring at us. Some of them scare me. They have hard eyes, and their hands are hidden. One wall of the yard is high and red, but not as high as the big school. Girls' voices come falling down loud from the open windows. We run up and down between wall and school, shouting and pushing, running, up and back, over and across. The gate is closed. When it's time to go back, somebody rings a bell. 1, 2, 1, 2. The bell is heavy. The girl ringing it has her face all squeezed up. That's how I know. It's very strange at 70 We're trying to read poems in the voice of a 7-year-old. I think I kind of got it. This is called Rebellion. Oh yeah, by the way, the examiner last Saturday, a grave injustice was done to lovely Sister Angela. She was confused with Miss Coffey, who used to pinch kids behind the knee. I want to make it very clear that they're both long gone to dust, that it was Miss Coffey who pinched everyone, not Sister Angela. Justice is undivided and must always be kept. Rebel Angel. Oh, one other thing I should say to you, because it will interest the Cork people being as litigious as they are. On my way into the launch of this book, I had a sudden moment of panic. There's a teacher mentioned here, and he's all too identifiable. And there is a suggestion, no more than a suggestion, mind, that maybe he doesn't keep all the black babies' money in the box. And I suddenly thought, Jesus, what if he sues me? And then I thought, he won't last long enough for it to go to court. Rebel Angel. Bomber Murphy is good at fighting and running around, is always getting slapped for something. His shirt buttons often gapped and drawn. He doesn't always comb his hair. I'd be afraid of him, except that for some reason he likes me, is always telling me things. He brings in birds' eggs to show us, conquers, curious things he finds on the street, bits of machines. Bomber knows things none of us know. You see them women, he says, that you see Sundays out walking with them blue berets on. Them are called penitents. All bad girls, only the nuns took them in. They work in the laundry to say they're sorry. For how long, I ask, tracing the rough red stone of the wall. For how long what? For how long do they have to stay? I don't know. Forever. Up Peacock Lane there's a wooden door in the long convent wall. People are always coming and going, carrying bags up to the door, collecting brown paper parcels. Getting the sheets washed, says Bomber. We wash our own, I tell him. You should see the line where my mam hangs out the sheets, like sails on a sailing ship, I tell him. Or I've only a yard, he says, there wouldn't be room. There's an afternoon with the sun high, and it's October cold, when Sister Angela, we're in her class now, sends Milan and myself out to bring Bomber back to school. He's on the hop. I'm impressed with Sister Angela's thinking. Milan is big and strong, stronger than Bomber. I'm the one supposed to talk him into it. Faced with the two of us, he comes cheerfully enough, considering. Miss Coffey would have slapped him, but Sister Angela just ruffles his hair as she says, "Ah, my rebel angel." Any more than Milan, I can't figure this out. No more than I understand why the whole business makes me uneasy. We learned long afterwards to make us